Hey folks, Damien with Southpaw Designs. I am always on the lookout for ways to take existing projects and turn them into new and unique projects that people haven't seen before, because that's what's going to sell products and that's what's going to grow your business. These projects that people go, oh wow, that's a piece of art. That's not just a clock or a trivet or a charcuterie board or a cutting board. That's something that I'd like to have in my house as a showpiece. And so I'm always on the lookout for that. And so that's what I'm going to bring you today. This simple trivet. Also, you don't have to have a CNC to build this. I do have a CNC, so that's what I use to cut these out. But actually, I created a few links without the use of a CNC, and this is what they end up looking like. And they're almost just as good. It's a little bit more difficult to round the edges. You'd have to sand those down. But with just a table saw and a drill press, you can make all the pieces that you need. So there is no need to use a CNC. So here's what you're going to create. You are going to create 23 of these different links, which simply put look like this. They're just about a 1.5 inch by 3/4 inch piece of wood of your choice with holes on either end that are big enough to hold a dowel. Then you're going to have 8 different smaller pieces that are going to fill in your gaps right there on the end. Then all you'll need are some dowels. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to the CNC. So this is the way you would do it if you were using a CNC. I do have the files linked below if anybody would like to have them for download, but they're not that difficult to create on your own. Now, while the CNC is running, I'll show you how I created them without the use of a CNC. Just planed down some wood and cut it down with a table saw, then used my table saw sled to cut some pieces approximately the same size. They are 2 inches by 3/4 inches tall, and they're about 3/4 of an inch thick. But you can make the thickness whatever you want. Heck, you can make all the dimensions all you want. Then take them to your drill press and use a 1/4 inch drill press Forstner bit or bit of your choice. I did get some tear out on this. I'm not great at using the drill press, and that's not the way that I created it. But if you're going to use this method, just make sure to not have any tear out underneath your pieces. All right, so now let's come back to the CNC and see the rest of it finishing up. Now, what you don't see here is I do have some spalted maple that I put as a row down the middle, so it's going to show up as a slightly different color. I'm not showing you that. You get the idea. Now, on the right, you'll see the small pieces that we need. Those are actually going to join right there on the ends with our larger links. And I'll use a reciprocating saw to cut everything out. And when we're finished, this is what they look like. Again, this is one of the spalted maple pieces that I used. And here's what it looks like just using the drill press and table saw. And I'm hiding the tear out. Then we'll move over to our spindle sander, where we're going to clean off those edges, especially where the tabs were. Now, this is just a rough sanding. I'll do a final sanding once I get everything assembled. And now it's time for assembly. Now, assemble however you'd like and get crazy with it. Use whatever types of wood you like. This is simply walnut and spalted maple. And I'm going to go ahead and lay it out before I actually assemble it to make sure the pieces match up, which they should if they were done on the CNC or if they were measured accurately on your drill press and table saw. But I'm going to go ahead and do that anyway. And that's a neat look. I think the wife will like it. Once I see what it'll look like, I'm ready to go ahead and start putting it together. Now, for the outer rows, I recommend that you glue those, and that's what you'll see me doing right here. I'm actually applying just a little bit of wood glue, so that way the small pieces don't rotate and they stay looking nice and smooth once we sand them. But you really only need to do that with the ends, and you don't even have to do it with the ends. I prefer to do it, however. From there, we just move on to assembly. One recommendation that I have is that you make the holes on the ends a little bit tighter so that they are snug, but the holes going through the inner links a little bit looser. Now, if you're doing this on a CNC, you can easily do that by changing the size of those pockets by about 0.01 to 0.02 inches. The reason being is because if they're held tight on the outside, that's going to hold everything snug together. Whereas it's going to allow the ones on the inside to play and flex and move a little bit. Now, once I have everything together, I'm going to cut off the, and then we'll move to the spindle sander and we'll clean up those edges. You really want to get nice rounded off edges, and for any imperfections there, you kind of want to sand those down. Now I'm just giving this a rough sanding. Then I'll come over to my palm sander and I will sand everything down to a 120. Then I will raise the grain and then do a 220 grit. Now I'm not showing you the raising the grain and the 220, but you get the idea. And from there, I'm just going to soak it in mineral oil. Mineral oil will bring out the color, especially of that walnut. I'm not using any kind of special formula here. It's just straight mineral oil. And then let's put out some shop towels, some painting triangles or pyramids, and leave it out to dry. Hey, and remember, if you like this content, don't forget to hit that like button down below. That costs you nothing, but that interaction causes YouTube to promote my content out to a wider audience. Also, subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment. Now, the cool thing about this is you can actually create this entire project with scraps and turn it into money. I sell these for about 15 bucks a piece. They're unique. They are really cool showpieces and they're really functional. Also, on top of that, you can take this idea and you can expand it out. You can change the size of the links. You can turn this into a place setting. You can put it on top of a charcuterie board or a really probably more of a serving tray. You could make this bigger and turn it into a front doormat. So there are plenty of different ways that you could actually take this particular design and do some really cool stuff with it. Heck, I even saw a bench that was created out of this. I don't know if I'd try it because with my fat butt, there are a lot of points where anything can break right here. So I don't know if I'd be confident with that, but you never know. You might want to give that a shot. So now that you've seen this come together, I'd like to hear from you. What other uses could you see with this? Would you use it as a stool? Would you use it as a picture frame? Would you use it as a piece of wall art? I'd love to hear how else you would actually use this.